Okay, so yesterday we started with unit number 5, design of IC engine components. We started with the contents, different parts of the internal combustion engine. We saw the definition of IC engine. Again, in that, petrol engine, diesel engines, and their working we discussed. Then we compared two-stroke and four-stroke engines. Then design principle of engine components. Then we started with cylinder and cylinder liners, their advantages and disadvantages, primary function of the cylinder, parameters to be considered while designing the cylinders, then arrangement for the cooling of the cylinder liners, their positive and that is advantages and in advantages in terms of cost we discussed. Then we discussed dry liners and wet liners. Okay, so we were here, we completed actually this point, the desirable properties of material of cylinder and cylinder liner that we discuss, and the materials that are widely used for cylinder and cylinder liners are also discussed. And we started with the design. So the first design part is estimation of bore and length of the cylinder. So I will go to full presentation mode and yes, lesser pointer. Okay. So bore means this is the inner diameter of the cylinder. Then this is the stroke length. It is the distance between top dead center and bottom dead center. Above the top dead center there is a clearance, and below the bottom dead center also there is a clearance. So stroke length plus clearance will become your length of the cylinder. And generally in any application, take an example of a car, we are interested in how much power is available at the crankshaft and what is the efficiency of the engine. So if you have these two values, that is power available at the crankshaft is generally denoted by brake power and efficiency, then we can calculate the indicated power. And when I start discussing these bullets with you, then just look at the top view so that you will get an overview how the design process starts, because ultimately by considering various factors we calculate the dimensions of the cylinder such as bore and length for which the design will be safe. So by using brake power and efficiency we estimated indicated power. Then once you get the indicated power, there is a formula for calculating indicating power, that is the PM into stroke length into cross sectional area of the cylinder into number of working strokes per minute divided by 60. So from this formula you can calculate area of the cylinder, or we can say cross sectional area of the cylinder. Then once you get the cross sectional area of the cylinder, you can calculate the bore or diameter of the cylinder by using this formula. A is equal to pi d square upon 4. And once you get the diameter of the cylinder, then generally the stroke length, that is small l, and total length, that is capital L, are generally expressed in terms of diameter of the cylinder and stroke length of the cylinder respectively. So by using the value of diameter of the cylinder, just multiplied with 1.5 and you will get stroke length. And again in the stroke length, increase the length by 15%, you will get total length of the cylinder. This we discuss, and this is the process how we calculate the diameter of the cylinder, stroke length and total length. Now we got three dimension. The next important dimension is thickness of the wall. So cylinder, we need to calculate the thickness so that it will take the internal pressure whatever developed during the operations. And for designing the cylinder, we generally treat the engine cylinder or cylinder liner as thin cylinder, and the theory of design of thin cylinder is already discussed in pressure vessel design. And we know that in case of thin cylinder, the dominating stress is tangential stress or tensile stress, and two other stress, that is longitudinal and radial stress, are having less value. So the design parameter or design stress that we consider is sigma t, that is tangential stress. It is also called as circumferential stress or hoop stress as well. Then for thin cylinder, we use this formula for calculating the thickness of the cylinder. T is equal to Pi, that is internal pressure, then di, internal diameter of the cylinder, divided by 2 multiplied by permissible tensile strength for cylinder material, and which is the design parameter we consider. Then we need to modify this equation which is derived for thin cylinder for IC engine cylinder. So thickness of the cylinder wall or cylinder liner is equal to, we replace Pi by P max, where P max is the maximum gas pressure inside the cylinder. Di is replaced by D, as we denoted D as bore or internal diameter of the cylinder, divided by 2 into sigma c. We replace sigma t by sigma c. Just there is a change in the notation, but the meaning is same. Permissible, tangential or circumferential or hoop stress for cylinder material, plus c. This additional term we add as a reboring allowance. As we know, the piston is continuously reciprocating inside the cylinder, and because of that there is a rubbing action. So slowly the internal material will be taken away. Again, at the same time, due to internal combustion, there is a chance that the combusted gases may react with the cylinder wall. So we need to consider the material that is removed due to the chemical reaction or due to the reciprocating motion of the piston, and that's why we add some additional thickness in order to compensate this. So in order to calculate the thickness of cylinder wall, we use this particular formula. So now we have four dimensions: diameter of the cylinder, stroke length, total length, and thickness. So if we get all these dimensions, then your cylinder design is over. And this is only the design principle. We are not going to consider so many other parameters. Then, while solving numerical related to design of cylinder, if certain values are not known to you or if it is not given in the problem, then we need to assume certain value. For example, if we don't know the maximum pressure P max, then we need to, and if we know the indicated mean effective pressure PM, then just multiplied PM by 10 and you will get P max, and that you can use while solving the numerical. Again, the circumferential or hoop stress is the permissible or allowable tensile strength. So if you know the material used for cylinder or cylinder liner and its properties such as ultimate tensile strength and its factor of safety, then by taking its ratio, you will get circumferential hoop stress sigma c or sigma t, that is permissible tensile strength. So if you know the material properties, you can easily calculate the value of sigma c. And generally the value of factor of safety is given to you. If the ultimate tensile strength of the cylinder material and factor of safety is not mentioned in the problem, so in that case what we need to do, we need to take the value of sigma c between 35 to 100 Newton per mm square. So if this is the problem, then you can take any value between 35 and 100 and you can start solving the problem. But whenever you are assuming something, you need to mention, as this value is not given or we cannot calculate, so we are assuming sigma is equal to, let's say, 35 Newton per mm square. And as I mentioned, why we take reboring allowance, and to take the value of that reboring allowance, that is C, there are we need to refer this particular table. And once you get the cylinder bore or cylinder diameter, then corresponding reboring allowance values are given in this table. For example, from your calculation, if you got cylinder bore as 75 mm, then you need to take reboring allowance C as 1.5. So two things are there I would like to mention here. Suppose by calculation you got cylinder bore as 80 mm, then you need to take next standard value of cylinder bore. So the calculated value is 80 mm, so you will be taking 100 mm as diameter of cylinder, and its corresponding reboring allowance you need to take is 2.4 mm. Don't take closest lower value, always take closest upper value in order to increase the safety level of the cylinder. Then again, in this there are so many empirical relations that we need to use for calculating other dimensions. For example, if you want to calculate the thickness of the cylinder, then it is also expressed in terms of cylinder bore. So T is equal to 0.045 D plus 1.6. So this empirical relation can also be used if you are not in a position to calculate D by using the formulas discussed in previous slides. And generally the cylinder thickness wall varies between 5 to 25 mm, and this formula you can use. Similarly, if it is a dry liner, then thickness can be calculated by 0.03 D to 0.035 D. Or if it is a water jacket wall, then the thickness of the cylinder can be calculated as 1/3 of T and 3/4 of T. And the thickness of the water jacket wall in terms of, yeah, can be expressed in terms of diameter of the cylinder. So you can calculate 0.032 D plus 1.6 mm. Then water space between the outer cylinder wall and inner jacket wall is ranging between 9 mm for 30 mm cylinder and 75 mm for 750 mm cylinder. Or you can also use a general formula 0.08 D plus 6.5 mm. Then you can see in the figure that the cylinder and the cylinder head are connected, and for connecting these two flanges are used. So we need to estimate the dimensions of the flange as well. So the thickness of the cylinder flange is generally 1.2 times T to 1.4 times T. Again, the thickness of the cylinder flange also expressed in terms of the nominal diameter of the bolt or stud. So it is 1.25 times D to 1.5 times D. Again, the radial distance between outer diameter of the flange and pitch circle diameter of the stud. Here you can see this distance in the figure, and that is D plus 6 to 1.5 D. Here we don't know the value of small d, that is nominal diameter of bolt or stud, that we will be calculating in upcoming slides. But at the beginning of the design, if you know the nominal diameter of the stud, you can find out the thickness of the cylinder flange. So these are the empirical relations, and when you need to use it, if you are not in a position to calculate some of the values by using the equations. Then Sometimes you are asked to calculate apparent stress or net stresses. So we know that in case of thin cylinders, there are two principal stresses acting. First, circumferential stress sigma c and longitudinal stress sigma l. And these two principal stresses, sigma c and the sigma L, here you can see. These are the two stresses perpendicular to each other, and we assume that they are uniformly distributed over the surface. You can see here, we are assuming it is uniformly distributed. So, considering the equilibrium of forces acting on half portion of the cylinder of unit length. So, whenever there is an internal pressure Pmax, so stresses must be developed inside the cylinder wall in order to compensate that forces, so that you will ensure the cylinder will achieve equilibrium position. So that force, how it is calculated? So the force due to internal pressure is calculated by Pmax multiplied by D. So here you can see D multiplied by Pmax, which is equal to the force which is developed inside the cylinder is 2 times sigma c multiplied by thickness of the wall. And if you simplify this equation, you can get sigma c is equal to P max T upon 2T. This is the circumferential stress we can calculate. And this circumferential stress is called as apparent circumferential stress. Similarly, in case of longitudinal direction as well, there should be equilibrium of forces developed due to internal pressure Pmax and longitudinal stresses developed in the cylinder wall. So how it is calculated? So Pmax multiplied by the surface area pi by 4 d square. So this is the force exerted by the combust gases on the cylinder head, and due to that internal stresses will be developed in the cylinder wall, and that is calculated by sigma L multiplied by pi by 4 outer diameter of the cylinder wall minus its square minus diameter of the bore and its square. So this is the formula by which you can calculate the longitudinal stress P max d square upon d naught square minus d square, and this sigma L is called as apparent longitudinal stress. So sigma apparent sigma c and apparent sigma c can be calculated by using the uh, equilibrium of forces in uh, circumferential direction as well as longitudinal direction. So once you get the apparent circumferential stress sigma c and apparent sigma L, and we know that they are acting at right angles to each other, so the net stresses resultant of these two in these directions are always less or are reduced, and it is given by the net circumferential stress is equal to apparent circumferential stress minus Poisson's ratio into apparent sigma L, and net longitudinal stress is equal to apparent sigma L minus Poisson's ratio into apparent tangential stress or circumferential stress. So by using this formula, if it is asked to calculate net stresses, you can do it. And the Poisson's ratio depends on the material. So generally, cast iron is used for cylinder wall. So in that case, you can take Poisson's ratio as 0.25. But if there is a change in metal or different metal is used, the value of Poisson ratio will be given to you, or you can refer a design data book to get the value of Poisson's ratio. Now, the previous part is related to design of cylinder, how different dimensions are calculated of the cylinder, and how net stresses acting on the cylinders are calculated. Now we will start with the cylinder head. So here in the figure you can see the cylinder head. Now we will move to cylinder head and how its dimensions are calculated. So as we know, the cylinder head provides a place for combustion of fuel, that is air fuel mixture. And we know that there are so many units are accommodated on cylinder head, and because of accommodation of these units, for example inlet port, then spark plug or exhaust valve, the shape of the cylinder head becomes complicated. And as here we are looking at only preliminary design of the cylinder head, so we assume that the cylinder head is flat circular plate, and if we assume it is a flat circular plate, then the thickness of the cylinder head can be calculated by d into square root of k, where k is constant and its value is taken as 0.162, multiplied by P max, maximum pressure developed inside the cylinder, divided by allowable circumferential stress. So by using this formula, you can calculate the thickness of cylinder head. And if you know the material properties of the cylinder, then and SUT and factor of safety, these two values are used to calculate the circumferential stress. And this value can be put in this formula and you can calculate the value TH. Again, sometimes the ultimate tensile strength of the cylinder head material and factor of safety is not specified. So in that case, you need to assume the value of sigma c, and you can take any value between 30 to 50 Newton per mm square. Meanwhile, I will just check whether I am online or not. Yes, I'm online. So again, I will continue. Okay, so there is only one equation by which you can calculate the uh, thickness of the cylinder head. हेलो हाँ 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 एक थोड़ी देर बाद कॉल करता हूँ मैं Okay, so we will continue. So then we will move to design of studs for cylinder head. So in the figure, left figure, you can see the studs that are used for connecting cylinder and cylinder head. And on right side, you can see that cylinders and here cylinder head. And in order to connect the cylinder head with the cylinder block, the how studs are used. So the important point or important thing related to design of stud for cylinder head is that we need to find out three important things. First, how many studs are required? Second, what is the nominal diameter of that stud? And third one is pitch of the stud. So number of studs, nominal diameter, and pitch of the stud. So these three things we need to calculate or find out as a part of design of stud. So we'll start with number of studs, and generally it is denoted by Z, and by using empirical relation we can find out minimum number of studs as well as maximum number of studs, and that empirical relation is generally expressed in terms of cylinder bore diameter. So if you know the diameter of the cylinder, then you can easily calculate the minimum number of studs or maximum number of studs, so by using this formula. Second, diameter of studs. So here in the figure you can see that when combustion takes place inside the cylinder, so internally a huge amount of pressure is created, and that pressure exert a force on the cylinder head and on the piston as well. So that pressure or the force is taken by the studs, you can see in the figure. Otherwise, if these bolts couldn't take the pressure, then the cylinder and cylinder head will become two separate units. So it is the responsibility of the stud to take whatever force exerted by the combust gases on the cylinder head. And for that, what we need to do, by using that internal pressure and the force exerted on the cylinder head, we can calculate the core diameter of the stud, and by that is done by obtaining equating the maximum gas force acting on the cylinder cover here, maximum gas force acting on the cylinder cover or cylinder head, to the resisting force offered by the studs. So pressure, force exerted by the gas in upward direction, and the force, that is resisting force, developed in the stud is in downward direction. So to have equilibrium state, we need to equate these two equations. So gas force acting on the cylinder can be calculated by pi d square upon 4 into P max, and that needs to be equated with resisting force offered by all studs, number of studs into pi dc, where dc is the core diameter of the stir divided by 4 into sigma t. So if you equate these two equations, you can calculate the core diameter of the stud. The core diameter is also called as minor diameter, and the sigma t is allowable tensile stress for stirred material. Now the studs are made of steel, and since the material is ductile, we can calculate sigma t, and which is equal to SYT divided by factor of safety, where SYT is yield strength of the material. Sometimes if the yield strength of the stud material and factor of safety is not specified, then the allowable tensile strength is taken as 35 to 70 Newton per mm square. And once you get the strength, we can calculate the core diameter of the stud, and by using core diameter of the stud, we can calculate nominal diameter of the stud. So D is nominal diameter of the stud, which is equal to core diameter divided by zero point 0.8. So this is the process how to calculate nominal diameter of the stud. Now next thing is the last important thing that we need to find out for stud is pitch of the stud, and the pitch circle diameter of the studs is obtained by following empirical relationship, that is dp is equal to d plus 3d, where dp is pitch circle diameter of the stud, d is the bore, plus 3d, where d is the thickness of the diameter of the stud. Then by using this formula, once you get the dp, then you can calculate pitch of the studs, which is equal to pi dp upon z, where z is number of studs. In order to obtain a leak-proof joint, the pitch of the stud should be between the following two limits, and the minimum pitch should be 19 square root of d, nominal diameter of the stud, and maximum pitch is equal to 28.5 square root of d. So we need to make sure that the pitch of the stud is between these two limits. So whenever you are solving any problem, then at the end, once you get the pitch of the stud, make sure that it is between the minimum and maximum value. And yes, I already mentioned that in the whole unit we are doing only elementary part of the design. So in actual practice there are so many other parameters are considered. Okay, but right now we are not doing that. Now we'll solve one short numerical, and then if you have any question you can ask related to this. So the problem is the cylinder of a four stroke diesel engine, so number of strokes is 4, has the following specification: brake power is given 3.75 kilowatt, speed of the engine is 1000 rpm, indicated mean effective pressure 0.35 megapascal, mechanical efficiency 80%, and you need to determine the bore, that is capital D, and length, that is capital L, of the cylinder liner. So here what you will do, first step, always read the problem carefully and write down the given value. So brake power BP 3.75 kilowatt, that is converted into watt. Then speed of the engine N 1000 rpm, PM mean effective, indicated mean effective pressure 0.35 megapascal, which is equal to 0.35 only Newton per mm square. Efficiency is zero point 0.8. Now once you read this problem, you can easily understand you need to only find out bore and length of the cylinder. And we discussed all these formulae which is shown here by using red color. These formulas are related to or you need to use while solving this numerical. And you can compare from which values are given and how step by step you can use this formula to calculate the diameter of the bore and length of the cylinder. So when you compare the given values and the equation, we need to initially assume that the ratio of stroke length to cylinder diameter, that is small l by capital D, is taken as 1.5, where D is the cylinder bore and L is the stroke length. So we can start here. And cross-sectional area of the cylinder A is equal to pi d square upon 4 in mm square. And as we assume that the stroke length is equal to 1.5 d upon 1000 in meters. So that we assume. Then as the engine is of 4-stroke diesel engine, so the value of small n can be calculated by using the formula speed divided by 2, and that is 500 strokes per minute. So you got the value of small n. Then you have brake power as well as efficiency. So you can calculate the indicated power, and the value answer is 4687.5 watt. So you got indicated power. Then we know that the formula for indicated power where IP just we estimated, PM is given, L is expressed in terms of diameter of the cylinder, capital D. A, we know A can be written in terms of pi d square upon 4 into n we just estimated, divided by 60. So put all the known values in this equation and simplify. So upon simplification you will get a relation d cube is equal to 1364.19 into 10 raised to 3. Take its cube root and you will get the answer 110.9 mm. So by using the given data and our assumption, we get the bore diameter as 110.9 mm. But we cannot say that this is the design value. We need to take the next standard value available, and we know from that table that the next standard value is 112 mm. So you can also refer the design data book to select the standard value of bore diameter. So here 112 mm is the standard value that we have taken. Then by using the value of d, you can calculate the stroke length. As we assumed here, L by d is 1.5, and therefore the stroke length is 168 mm. And we know that once you note the stroke length, generally if we add additional 50% of it, you will get the length of the cylinder. So length of the cylinder is equal to 1.15 stroke length, and which is equal to 193.2, which is equal, or we will take 195 mm. So this is how, or this approach can be used to solve the numerical. So first of all, always remember that read the problem carefully, write down its given data, and find out which are the relevant equations that you can use while solving the problem, and the known values you need to put into the respective equations. Then combine different equations, just we did here, and once you combine, just go on simplifying, and upon simplification you will get the desired value, in this case bore diameter and length of the cylinder. So that's it for today's session. And yeah, from the numerical you might have guessed that